CRTV News, ici, toute l'info.
The election of executives of regional councils and regional assemblies, a concretization of the decentralization procedure, and a triumph of Cameroon's democracy, the 730 News presents the pioneers and pitches the reaction of the political class. First Lady Mrs. Chantal grants audience to award-winning author DJAИLI Amal at the Unity Palace and commends a fight against violence on women in her book Les Impatientes, recognized as the 2020 Goncourt Prix for high school children. The Confederation of African Football (CAF) authorizes access to stadia during the African Nations Championship. At most, 50% of spectators will be granted entry due to the coronavirus pandemic. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Those were the headlines of the 730 News.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
The year 2020 has been one of diplomatic gains championed by the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Biya. 10 ambassadors and 1 high commissioner were appointed to renew Cameroon's diplomatic personnel in missions abroad. The head of state also backed with success Cameroon's candidates for international jobs, like that of Mariatou Yap, who became the first ever female Secretary General of the International Civil Defense Organization. Charles Ebonne presents President Biya's diplomatic year in this review.
January 9 this year, the President's diplomatic agenda begins with the reception of New Year wishes from the plus 17 member representatives of the international community accredited in Cameroon.
La décennie qui vient de s'achever.
The just ended decade, like the just ended year, were marked by major threats to peace and international security. In the face of the threats to humanity, namely terrorism, climate change, migration, populism, the international community embarked on major efforts to find solutions. That reflection is immediately met by the biggest diplomatic sanitary challenge of the second decade of this century, the coronavirus. The President commits plus 600 million CFA francs to pre-finance the purchase of a vaccine when available at the Global Alliance for Vaccine Summit in London. Earlier, the President disbursed 50 million CFA francs to secure the lives of Cameroonian students trapped by the virus in China, then evacuated, plus 2,000 other compatriots back home.
The government of Cameroon has contributed $2 million to the fund, and many other countries have contributed. So it's an ordinary expression of solidarity within the continent.
Amidst the pandemic, President Paul Biya renewed the diplomatic personnel with 10 ambassadors and 1 high commissioner appointed. Salomon Head to the United Nations Permanent Mission in Geneva, Switzerland, Andre Magnus Ekumu to France, and Churchill Ewumbwe Monono to Ethiopia and the African Union, amongst others. Keep Cameroonians atop the global leadership mantle, President BIYA backed successfully candidates for international jobs, amongst them Mariatu Yap, who became the first ever Secretary General of the International Civil Defense Organization. Year on, world-class leaders journeyed to the Unity Palace to meet the president to discuss a wide range of issues. And just yesterday, the Equatorial Guinean Minister of State for Regional Integration was at the Unity Palace, wherein the diplomatic year starts and ends each year.
In our Newsroom dossier tonight, we zoom in on the outcome of the election of presidents of regional councils and regional assemblies, which took place throughout the national territory yesterday. Plebiscited alongside with the Executive Bureau of the councils in 10 regions, with the Northwest and Southwest regions having presidents of the House of Chiefs, the members have already started work. Constantin Baum now presents the figures at the helm of the regional institutions.
The election of the Executive Bureau of the first ever regional councils comes to fast-track Cameroon's decentralization process in the Northwest region with special status. Professor Fuangwafo III was elected president of the regional council. Another region with special status is the Southwest, and to lead the deliberations for that region is Zacchaeus Bokoma Elango. In the Fano region, Daniel Kalbasu was elected as the executive of the region. He shall be the interlocutor of the representative of the state, while in the North region, Alim Buka was elected as pioneer president of the regional council. He will be the one to authorize the revenue and expenditure of the region. The lone opposition candidate comes from the Adamawa region. From the NUDP party, Dr. Muhammadu Dewa will manage the property of the Adamawa region. Woumane Mbele now stands tall as president of the regional council in the East region. Meanwhile, in the West, Dr. Jules Hile Foka Foka is the interlocutor of the representative of the state. The South region has as president of the regional council Emmanuel Mve Elemva. In the littoral region, Polycarp Banlock is the one to prepare and implement regional council deliberations. And in the central region, Gilbert Nchimi Vuna made a strong comeback into politics as he was elected regional council president. The 10 presidents are the executive organs of the regions, and they all have a 5-year mandate to decide.
The regional council elections has been described as a move that will complete the decentralization process in Cameroon by the political class. Kilian Dandifon sought to know the points of view of some leaders of political parties. He now compiled their opinions in this report.
The CPDMC is the choice of the regional council executive in the 9 regions the party won as a mark beyond satisfaction.
Our candidates were chosen by the national president because of their militancy, of their experience, of their competence, of their loyalty toward the CPDM party and the Republican institutions.
Political party leaders not in the bureau regret but accept the rules of the game.
FSNC, Cameroon National Salvation Front, which took place, unfortunately, we are not in the executive of the region, but it doesn't matter. We accept the rule. This is the rule of the game, and we have to brace ourselves, be ready next time.
The wish of the political class is for decentralization to be a reflection of federalism.
By the day-to-day running of the region, I wish this to resemble, or they must operate as if this were a kind of federalism which does not call its name.
It is also seen as a new window for peace in the Northwest and Southwest regions.
After these elections, peace will be reinforced in these regions, and these regions will go on to develop this part of our dear and beloved country, Cameroon.
All eyes are now on the action of the regional council bureaus.
And now, as we announced in one of our top stories, First Lady Mrs. Chantal has granted audience to the award-winning author AMADOU Jali, who won the prestigious Goncourt Prize for 2020, and she promoted the fight against violence in her book Les Impatientes. She was recognized as the 2020 Goncourt Prize. And now we have details with Staff Lady Inanga Kebi on that audience.
The audience at the well-decorated east wing corner of the Unity Palace was brief but rich in content. Cameroonian literary star DJAИLI AMADOU Amal was proclaimed the winner of the 33rd award dubbed Goncourt de Lycéen on Wednesday, December 2nd for her book entitled L'Impatient, a revival of a novel published in Cameroon in 2017 under the title Mungal, meaning patience in Fulani. She was delighted to meet the all smiles and charming First Lady, Mrs. Chantal BIYA. Both women are social activists fighting for a common cause, notably the education of the girl child, the fight against early marriages, the promotion of women, and violence against women. Her book allows us to observe the issue of forced marriage through the prism of a moving testimony. With Mrs. Chantal BIYA, they are sure to succeed in the battle.
Christmas is around the corner, and there was a Christmas tree lighting ceremony at the Gynecological, Endoscopic and Human Reproductive Teaching Hospital, Cresser, in Yaoundé. Patients and staff of the institution offer thanksgiving to the Lord for the births of more than 200 babies through the in vitro fertilization since the creation of the facility. Some 200 babies received gifts in the course of the events. Ayimbile has highlights in this report.
Awash with vibrant colors and flowers were the grounds of the Gynecological, Endoscopic Surgery and Human Reproductive Teaching Hospital, Cresser, where staff and patients had gathered for the Christmas tree lighting ceremony. One downscaled in light of the COVID-19 pandemic and marked by a Thanksgiving Mass to celebrate the miracles of the Lord in a place of miracles established under the patronage of the First Lady, Mrs. Chantal BIYA. But before the handing over of Christmas presents to the parents of close to 200 kids by Professor Jean-Marie Cassia, who was accompanied by the Imam of the Yaoundé Central Mosque and the first and second vicars of the St. Augustine Parish, Ngoussou.
Thank you very much for what you are doing in this hospital for us, and we are very grateful.
Established in 1998 under the patronage of the First Lady, Mrs. Chantal BIYA, and manned by Professor Jean-Marie Cassia.
If I had God in front of me, I would have asked him to give up enough time to continue doing what we are doing. But no problem. Let's do as far as we've been live.
Cresser, which has over the years gained international recognition for the treatment of many pathologies and for providing women with the safest conditions for procreation, has also made it a tradition to, at Christmas, warm the hearts of the staff and those whose lives have been transformed through the magic of science.
At the Triumphant Faith Ministries Church in Bok Abang, a neighborhood in Yaoundé, a Christmas cantata or choral composition which restitutes the birth of Christ took place today. It came to culminate 40 days of prayer and fasting for Cameroon, organized by the church. Gilbert Ongene was there, now reports.
Raising their voices to heaven to welcome baby Jesus, whose birth symbolizes hope and domination of good over evil. This drama piece, staged by youths of the International Youth Fellowship, comes to crown activities of the Triumphant Faith Ministries, whose ardent wish is to see peace in Cameroon.
Cameroon needs peace, and the birth of Jesus is a message to our country that if we can trust in him, we will experience peace.
The program also seeks to usher Christians of this congregation into a safe and prosperous new year.
We are having a special program coming up under the theme Finishing Well, because we believe that the way you finish the year determines what you will see or live the coming year.
The fervent prayer request here, like is the case across the country, is that the coming of Christ ushers in a better and new 2021.
Barely 48 hours to the celebration of Christmas, the prices of basic commodities are being assessed by the Ministry of Trade to render them accessible to all, especially in Yaoundé. Minister Luc Magloire Barga Tangana told some supermarkets in the town today to make certain no artificial price hikes are introduced by traders. Clarice Aritakang has more.
Whether foreign or homemade, in each supermarket, the availability and affordability of products was assessed. Wholesalers who have partnered with the Ministry of Trade have taken the commitment to ensure that consumers have as much as they want and need during the festive period. With COVID-19 still an issue to deal with on a number of fronts, the main idea is to give inhabitants the possibility of celebrating, bearing in mind that there are new socio-economic realities to consider.
We have seen that the products are available, all the products, in particular local products. And at the same time, you have seen that the price are also affordable. So all the conditions, as I have said, are fulfilled to have a beautiful end-of-year feast.
As inhabitants therefore get involved with their end-of-year shopping, they have the opportunity to choose not only from a wide variety of items on offer, but equally numerous outlets from where to make their purchase.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
The coronavirus is ravaging lives across the globe, with hundreds of deaths recorded daily in some parts of Europe and the Americas. In Cameroon, there has been less than 400 deaths since the outbreak of the pandemic in March this year. What accounts for this relatively low death rate as compared to other countries, although all lives matter? Baldwin Sama and his guest, Dr. Joseph Foka, attempt answers from the Public Health Emergency Operations Center. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Esther Kima. Ever since we had the outbreak of the COVID-19 in Cameroon in the month of March this year, many persons have been tested positive for the virus, many persons have recovered, and equally, many Cameroonians have died for COVID-19. But so far, less than 450 Cameroonians have died for this virus since March this year, 2020. We discussed the low death rate so far with our guest, Dr. Joseph Foka, who is a virologist. Good evening to you, Doctor.
Good evening, Badi.
What explains this death rate in Cameroon that stands at less than 450 as compared to other countries where the death rate is very high?
Effectively, what we know now in Cameroon, in addition to what has been described already, like the early age of our population, around 90 years, also like the fact that probably climate condition might also be on our favor, we now have further evidence. For example, in the Cameroonian context, which is tropical, there are several other human coronavirus circulating, and this may give a kind of cross-reactivity that may reduce the burden of inflammation of the virus once we are infected. So we have some of this evidence locally that seems to support the fact that we have a low degree of severity. And because of this low degree of severity, many of our patients appear to be asymptomatic. But we have to be very careful because now there is a new virus strain circulating, and if this new virus strain gets to our context, we don't know how will be the outcome. So the best for us to do is to make sure we keep on respecting barrier measures.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph Foka, for being available as a guest this evening. We must continue respecting all these outlined barrier measures. Back to you, Esther Kima.
Baldwin Sama for the update. We'll now take you to the East region, where security has been beefed up at the border town of Garua Bulai following the unrest in the Central African Republic days to the presidential election in that neighboring country. To prevent a spillover, Governor Gregoire Mvongo has chaired an emergency security meeting in the presence of Brigadier General Noma Joseph, commander of the 12th Motorized Infantry Battalion. Mokum Robert Achu tells us more from the East.
East Governor Gregoire Mvongo, together with Brigadier General Noma Joseph, commander of the 12th Motorized Infantry Battalion, met in the border town of Garabulai behind closed doors to take measures to tighten security in that town, threatened by the unrest in the Central African Republic provoked by the upcoming presidential elections in that country. Governor Gregoire Mvongo, while in Garabulai, paid a visit to the former Prime Minister of the Central African Republic, Simplice Matthew Serangi, today Minister of State Special Advisor at the Presidency, who was on campaign in a neighboring division of Central African Republic but was forced by the unrest to cross over to Garabulai. Governor Gregoire Mvongo assured him that following instructions from the Cameroon Minister of Territorial Administration, his security in Cameroon is assured. The governor also visited a Chinese community of some 200 persons who have been forced out of the Central African Republic by the unrest. They too have been assured of their security in Cameroon. The East Regional Administrative Boss, Gregoire Mvongo, is also informing the populations of Garabulai and the East Region in general that security at that border town and others has been reinforced for the safety of people and their property.
In other news, the governor of the Bank of Central African States, BIYA, Abbas Mahamat Tole, is the 2019 Eco-Matern Personality of the Year. The prize was officially handed over during a ceremony in Douala in recognition of his assiduity and change effected in the financial institution. Details with Mercy Ashu in Douala.
In just 3 years of its existence, the publication Eco-Matern has been able to distinguish personalities who are making economic strides to change the paradigm on African economies. After Dr. Fritz Ntonentone in 2018, here comes the governor of the Bank of Central African States, Abbas Mahamat Tole, backing home the second edition of the prestigious prize, Eco-Matern Personality of the Year. Handing over the award, the director of the publication of Eco-Matern, in the person of Emile Fijek, reminded a cross-section of BIYA staff and authorities that the laureate had been selected by a jury based on positive actions across the CEMAC region. Amongst them, BIYA's revised foreign exchange regulations, which clarifies foreign exchange operations for economic operators within the CEMAC zone. The prize, Mr. Abbas Mahamat Tole said, is dedicated to the staff of BIYA for their hard work.
We'll stay in the littoral region, where the promotion of cybersecurity and the dangers of cybercrime in society are being highlighted to pupils and students in the littoral region. The Minister of Posts and Telecommunications, Minette Libom Lilikeng, praised the responsible use of the social media during a two-day working visit. Madon Kwele tells us more.
They have all taken the engagement to be committed to a responsible use of the social media. Youths of some primary, secondary and higher institutions of learning in Douala said no to cyber attacks as they received flyers and posters on which is inscribed the message from the Minister of Posts and Telecommunications.
The internet is good and it's also bad. It's not good to send our photos anyhow.
From the governor's office to the government English practicing primary school Bonamusadi, GBHS Daido and University of Douala, Minister Minette Libom Lilikeng stressed on the need for all to curb scamming, hacking and phishing.
Our principal goal is to organize a national coalition of everybody, young, even adults, to say cyber criminals will not pass through me to destabilize my country, to break my hope for the future.
This activity is in line with a national campaign the minister launched at the start of the year to promote the culture of cybersecurity and awareness on the use of social media.
In this advertorial, a partnership agreement has been signed between the Cameroon Cement Corporation, Cemencam, and one of its partners to boost production and distribution. The accord was appended by Cemencam Director General Benoit Galichet, while Louis Temgua represented his group. Tabot Nicolas Egbe witnessed the signing of the agreement in Ahala in Yaoundé.
It was another great opportunity for the management of the Cameroon Cement Corporation, Cemencam, to sign a partnership deal with one of its distributors, Intem's Group.
We are celebrating Louis today and his employees and his customers and all his friends, because Louis is a very strong partner for Cemencam, the biggest partner, and we are happy today to celebrate. We are helping him to make a new design on his shop, and we are there to celebrate that. So to celebrate a long collaboration, very fruitful. It's a 5 years collaboration. He told us he has started with 9,000 tons. He is above 150,000 tons today for Simoncam. So I'm very happy to be there with Simoncam team to celebrate him.
At the ceremony which took place at Ahala in Yaoundé, both parties took the commitment to work together for the interests of their companies. For the Director General of the Intems Group, Louis Ntemkwa, he was elated after seeing that his plans to get a deal with Simoncam had finally come true. The Director General of Simoncam on the spot lauded the initiative taken by the Intems Group to work with its company.
We want that he stays as a very strong partner for Simoncam, so continuing together to grow. As maybe you know, we will have soon a new plant in the north, close to our former plant in Figuil. So we'll have a new plant. So Louis and Mr. Temgua will grow together with us, and we will offer him new products like we have offered him Multics some weeks ago, and he's one of the big contributors of the Multics Hydro and Multics success. And we will continue to offer him new services and new product and everything that he is able to grow and to be successful.
The ceremony ended with lots of merrymaking.
From Ahala, we'll take you back to the Unity Palace, where Mrs. Chantal BIYA has presided over the lighting of the Christmas tree ceremony and the end of the first term at the Coccinelle Primary School. She applauded the outstanding performance of the pupils and the devotion of the teachers who ensure that the school keeps the honor roll. In sketches, dance and songs, they demonstrated the solemnity of the Feast of Nativity. Staff lady Enangakebi has the details.
There was caroling everywhere around the Ladybird School of the Unity Palace, known as the Coccinelle. Well decorated with Christmas colors, there was a display of gifts for the children at the entrance of the classrooms. Peculiar here was the respect of the barrier measures of the COVID-19 pandemic, notably very limited guests, social distancing, and the wearing of face masks. Mrs. Chantal BIYA was accompanied by her special guest, DJAИLI AMADOU Amal, winner of the 2020 Goncourt de Lycéen Award. For close to 30 minutes, the children thrilled their matron, the First Lady, and the restricted guests with songs, sketches, rhymes, dance, and recitations. Throughout the different performances, they passed across meaningful messages of love, peace, unity, and living together. The messages were delivered in both official languages, English and French. The most important of the virtues of Christmas is love, as they sang. Christmas is a time for people to put aside their differences and resort to love one another as Christ loved humanity. The presence of some artists added color to the feast. Phase 2 of the event was reserved for the distribution of gifts to the pupils. The First Lady set the pace, followed by the dignitaries present. An exciting moment as each child received a toy, well packed, and a pack of cookies offered by the First Lady. From the Esplanade, the First Lady undertook a guided tour of the classrooms to inspect the progress report booklet of the children. It was a time for stock-taking on the entire well-being of the pupils and teachers for better results. Next was the sharing of a common meal. They were happy to receive their matron at the restaurant. A farewell goodbye song, photo sessions, and the plucking of sweets from the Christmas tree with the First Lady marked the end of a happy Christmas celebration.
And now on to sports. As we announced in one of our top stories, the Confederation of African Football CAF says matches of the African Nations Championship that begin on the 16th of January 2021 will be open to the public. Depending on the capacity of the stadium, 25 to 50% of spectators will be granted access in strict compliance of COVID-19 barrier measures. Romeo Kenny reports on the announcement made today by Sports and Physical Education Minister Professor Narcis Mwelekombe.
At last, the Confederation of African Football CAF grants access of fans into stadia during the upcoming African Nations Championship in Cameroon, with a quota of spectators determined from kickoff day. But this has to be done in strict compliance with anti-COVID-19 measures.
CAF has decided that 25% of supporters will be allowed to enter the stadiums during group stages, but the exigencies are that everyone must put on a face mask. This will help reduce any possible contamination risk.
From a mathematical view, this implies 10,000 football lovers can troop into the 40,000 Yaoundé Omi Sports Stadium when Cameroon takes on Zimbabwe in the tournament's opener. The number may increase subsequently in the competition if no health concerns are raised.
During the knockout stage of the tournament, number of supporters per stadium will likely move to 50%. We wish everything moves on as planned.
The president of the local organizing committee of CHAN 2020, Professor Narcisse Molekombi, disclosed these informations while on a routine visit to the Fandana site.
The election of executives of regional councils and regional assemblies continue to make news in Cameroon. It is a concretization of the decentralization procedure and the triumph of democracy. Tonight, we presented the pioneers of the regional councils and pitched on the reaction of the political class. More news comes up at 8:30 p.m. with Romeo Twisse. I'll be back tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. God willing. Thanks for staying tuned to our programs on CRTV and on CRTV News. Good night and stay protected from the coronavirus.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing.
CRTV News, ici, toute l'info.